Thanks for stopping by for the first episode of Beyond the Brand. Today we're diving into the story behind Breathe Futbol, a brand that turned their passion into business. Let's get into it.
Everybody, Major Arijaje. First time I'm doing this. Now I'm introducing Ebun Olaloye, and he's owner of Breathe Futbol.
Yes,
LiveBreatheFutbol,
Futbol, yeah, aka
Yeah,
LBF.
they have it spelled FUTBUL. So
FLCBL, yeah. You know what I'm saying? The real football.
the real football. So yeah, thank you again for joining me.
Sure.
The first time doing this, I really appreciate you.
Yeah.
And like I said, the purpose of this interview is to kind of showcase brands in Philadelphia to start other entrepreneurs in Philadelphia, and give exposure. They'll show some of the great work that that's being done in Philadelphia.
Absolutely.
So that is the purpose of this. So like I said, I thank you for being the first person to be on this. I'm not sure what I'm calling it yet. Might just be branding under my name and just leave it as that. Let's call it conversations and just leave it at that. But yeah, I really appreciate you doing that.
No, it's an honor to be kind of asked to do something like this. Yeah, I always love talking about the brand. So
Yeah, awesome. So tell them about the brand.
yeah, so the brand's called Breathe Futbol,
Yeah.
aka LBF. So I started the brand when I was in college at Temple, where I studied architecture. But so before that, I went to high school in South Jersey and played soccer. And I played soccer there, and I always made T-shirts. I was campaign T-shirts, and that's kind of how I made pocket money or whatever. And then so at that point, I always wanted to have a brand. But then when I got to college, I just started playing more soccer. I played soccer every single day. All my friends that I became close to, I met playing soccer. So that was a big part of my life in college. And I remember on my 21st birthday, I was like, yo, I don't just want to go out and drink. You know what I mean? I wanted to do something that would be memorable for me. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to make some shirts, said Breathe Futbol on them. I sketched them really quickly, made a quick, graphic on Illustrator, put the shirts up online, made a quick Big Cartel was the e-com platform at the time.
Yeah.
And then just put them up for sale. And I was like, I'm gonna make 21 shirts to celebrate my birthday. And then that's kind of how the brand started.
Okay, so what type of shirts were they? Just plain?
Well, they were Anvil t-shirts, bro. You wash it one time, it's no longer black. It's it shrinks in the wash or whatever. So I didn't really know much about making clothes at the time. But I found a screen printer in Camden at the time, Camden Printworks, shout out Adam. And yeah, they made our first batch of shirts.
Okay.
And then just kind of kept going from there.
Okay. So I know you said we were just having a conversation. You said soccer is still heavy in your life right now.
Yeah.
He just said he just came back from a soccer game this morning.
Yep.
How many goals did you score?
3. Had a hat trick. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting up there. 35 still playing, but when I called the brand Breathe Futbol, it was an extension of my life. You know what I mean? I would skip class to play soccer. I would skip. I did architecture, like I said earlier, so I would skip reviews to play soccer. I would skip reviews to go watch soccer games. So that early on, I realized how big of a part of my life it was. So I was like, I need to figure out how to do something with soccer. So yeah, man, I still play as much as I can.
Awesome. So tell people how long were you dedicating to the brand to get it to where it's at right now?
I've been doing it. I'm 35. I've been doing it since I was 21. I wouldn't say it's been a business that whole time. Obviously, just make shirts here and there, whatever the case was. But yeah. I've never had a job. I've never had a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
This has been what I've always done.
Yeah, it's just shit. You know the guy,
Yeah. So
when did you know it was becoming a brand? When did you know wow, this is getting to
that's
the next?
A good question. There were a bunch of different things that happened. Shortly after I started the brand, the Philadelphia Union, they had a t-shirt design competition. And you just design a t-shirt, whatever it was, and then fans would vote on it. And my design won. And it was cool because they got to sell it at the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd go to the games, got to see people wearing something that design. So that gave me a lot of confidence. It still wasn't a business at that point. I was still in college. I was still making shirts here and there, whatever the case may be. But I was still probably around 2017 when the Sporting Kansas City, we did a collaboration with them. So that's the Major League Soccer team out there. And we did, I think it was 6 pieces. It was a hoodies, t-shirt, scarf. We really put the whole thing together. That was I'll say the first time I was like, oh, okay, this could be something where it's not just people who like soccer buying the product. It's actual organizations and soccer teams who are like, yo, we love what you guys do. Let's do a collaboration together.
Okay. Yeah. And how so what does that process look like in terms of designing all of those pieces and then pitching them out to teams or whoever you're trying to collaborate with? Like, how does that like all look like?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, I mean, now we have a license with Major League Soccer, so that's all 30 clubs. So the way it works is we just kind of design what we want to design basically, and then we have to submit it to the league for approval, and then when they approve it, then they have buyers from different teams. So like each club has a retail arm that buys products for the in-venue retail, for online, whatever the case may be. So there's sort of that aspect, and there's also like the collaboration, which is sort of a different collaboration. Was like, hey, we want to work with you guys on this project, and then we sort of collaborate on designing.
Yeah.
Versus the other stuff I mentioned is just weird. We're saying like, this is what we want to do for this season, and then they get to buy from us. And then the third option is also what's called like SMU, where basically they say, hey, we have a project we want to work on, and we just want you guys to basically be manufactured for that. So we don't really design stuff. It's more like, in that case, they're just coming to us and say, hey, we know you guys have a great products, whatever the case may be, but we want to do this, and we want you guys to manufacture that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, based on those three models that you just explained, which ones do you typically think is the best fit for, what you guys are trying to accomplish with Live?
It's a good question. I would say all of them. I think all of them sort of showcases our skill set in different ways. Like the stuff that we design and submit for approval is sort of 100% our design, right? So I think from our design, we have a very unique design language that we sort of bring to the soccer apparel space. So like that's us effectively imposing what we want to do, right? So that's sort of cool in that way. And when then they buy into that, that's really great, right? Because then fans get new, different options when they go. So it's not just like the same, oh, here's my team's crashing a t-shirt. It's like, yo, there's actually some like streetwear and design elements to that. So that one's good for that side. The collaboration is also cool because then you kind of get to work with people and design and create things that we probably wouldn't have created without that sort of collaboration, where like we probably wouldn't have thought to do something like X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And the last one is cool because then the SMU kind of showcases like our ability as a manufacturer.
Yeah.
Because for me, design is one thing, but like I want you to buy a garment from us, and I want it to last forever, right? So like that showcases our sort of like our supply chain expertise, understanding okay, you want to make this product or that product, like whether it's a T-shirt or a knit polo or a jersey or a varsity jacket, like we're sort of we can do each other. So like I wouldn't say one is better than the other.
Yeah.
I think they all have like their pros and cons.
Yeah. So are you constantly designing then, or is it like
always? I think for me, like I'm a naturally creative person, and I always have ideas. Like the way I sort of look at the world is, I wonder if, like that's sort of the question I always ask. Oh, what if this was this, whatever. Now, so like I'm always in a state of design.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like just designing for something. You know what I mean? It's like being a musician, right? Like you're always playing music. Doesn't necessarily mean you're recording an album or whatever the case may be. You just feel better. Exactly. You're just doing it because that's what you just love.
Yeah, just passionate about
exactly.
it. You're just passionate about it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. Like I've always like just been interested in that whole process of designing and creating. I'm not that creative. I need somebody else to do it. Like like I could put an idea together, but when it comes to like trying to put it on a t-shirt or something like that, like that's not me. So I'm always like just always interested in like how people's mind like work like that, like what inspires you to be like, oh, like this is gonna be a hot design, and let me put this together. Like what tools do you use to like kind of put that together? Like
So what tools do I use? So I'm old school. I still sketch. You know what I mean? Obviously I use Illustrator a lot to kind of flesh my ideas out. So a lot of things just like start in my head. I'm just like, I wonder if like what would happen if I put these two things together. I would say sort of my design process is more so combination, exploring like different ideas rather than like, I'm not the person that's gonna like imagine like some crazy thing that you've never seen before. Like that's not really like my process. My thing is more so like, that's interesting. What if I did this, this, and this to change that and bring it over here and make it this, right? Like so for me, LBF is effectively like when I growing up, like Ralph Lauren is my favorite brand. I think Ralph Lauren is like the greatest brand of all time. So I was like, man, what if I made like Ralph Lauren for soccer players? Like that's just like the question.
Yeah. And I can see that in some of the designs.
Right. And like that's the inspiration. You know what I mean? So it's kind of saying like, okay, what if I did this? I took this thing from here that already exists, but combine it with sort of my experience, my taste level, and like what I basically just like to see myself wear. And then you sort of like make something new from that.
And I didn't ask you this. So what would you consider, what type of brand would you consider LBF? Like active lifestyle, like active streets, like
yeah, that's a good question. I think we're like, I would say like performance lifestyle.
Okay.
And I'd say that because we have like products that they're designed for you to play soccer in, right? But then also like you can wear them just sort of like off the pitch,
Yeah.
right? So one of our mottos is like, for those with the courage to live life on their own terms, on and off the pitch. So when you're playing, like today, I had my game, whatever. Like I had LBF tights on, I had LBF shorts on, I had LBF socks on, right? You know what I mean? Like, and that's how I'm playing, right? But then like when I get off the pitch, I got to put my hoodie on, I put my sweats on, and it's all LBF as well. So like for me, it's like I want to make products for like soccer people who are just like passionate about soccer, whether you're a fan, whether you're a player, like wherever you are. Like I want to make products that like will really like match your lifestyle.
Yeah, and it's really truly just a huge community too as well. Like this, that football soccer community.
I mean, soccer is the biggest religion in the world. That's what I like to say. You know what I mean? Like 2 billion people watch the last.
Yeah, it's like when I see all the people that complain about, oh my God, the Eagles parade was so bad and terrible. I'm like, y'all haven't seen the soccer.
Wait till next year when the World Cup is here and Philadelphia is the host city. You'll really understand just how like massive like the game really is across the world. And I think for a lot of Americans I think I understand why people like love football, baseball, basketball, whatever it is, but like being that I was born in Nigeria, like, and growing up there, I have a different perspective on soccer.
So when did you come to America?
2000. So I was 10 years old when I came.
Okay. So I came to America when I was 12 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have a little connection there.
Where'd you grow up? Where in Nigeria did you grow up?
I grew up in Lagos.
Lagos, same.
Yeah, I grew up in Lagos, but my family's Urubu.
Okay, yeah.
Delta State.
Yep.
Delta State. If Nigerians, if any Nigerians watching, Delta State.
And I'm Yoruba. So
yeah, that's cool. So I mean, growing the brand, like, tell me more about that. Like, what are some challenges? What are some things that you think you can improve on as a leader, as a CEO? Things like that.
I mean, those are very different questions.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's packed into one.
Yeah. So growing the brand is interesting because like I've never done this before. You know what I mean? Like I didn't like have a career in something else and then start this. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I'm learning as I go. It's like, one of my friends, he works with us to join. He says like, it's like flying the plane as you're building it. You know what I mean? Like every year is a new challenge. Like the challenges from last year are the challenges from this year, and what's from next year are going to be different, right? So I would say growing a brand is a fun challenge because like we have a lot of problems, but they're all good problems to have, right? Like, it would be one thing if like, yo, we ain't got no juice and no one cares about our brand. Like that's the problem that's very difficult to solve.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, we have great products that people love and have loved for a long time. It's like, how do you then just keep building? Well, just get it to more people, but also sort of like get better as you do that, right? So for us, we have challenges with like, okay, supply chain. So, okay, well, if you make a t-shirt and get it screen printed locally, you can get that turned around in a week, whatever the case may be. We're making products that like have longer lead times, right?
Yeah, because they're all custom. Yeah.
They're all cutting. So, okay, well, we have to deal with the customs issues. You have to deal with like logistics management. You have to deal with like cash flow management because, for example, if we get an order from, let's say a retailer like Dick's Sporting Goods, right? They're placing an order today. No, it's in the 90s. They're paying today. You're manufacturing that's taking 3-4 months, right? It gets on a boat, it comes here, you deliver it to them, and then you get paid 90 days from when you deliver the product. So you can effectively be out of that money for almost a year.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like that's a big challenge.
You gotta start chasing them, like
all of that. But it's just even like if they pay on day 90, you're still 6 to 9 months out of that cap. Versus like with e-com, and before we got into this like, wholesale and B2B, we're all e-commerce. I can drop something today and do a pre-order. So I have the money in my bank account now, and then I can then go and spend it, right? Versus now you're putting that money out.
Yeah. But a lot of times that's when people start complaining about, oh, your turnaround is too long.
Yeah. I mean, it's all of that.
And that's what a lot of issues, that's what a lot of smaller brands deal with. I'm sure that you dealt with that as you were growing the brand, dealing with like China, MOQs and all the quantities.
All of that.
Yeah.
And then, to answer your next question about being a leader, like for me, it's just like trying to learn fast, right? And also being okay with like the discomfort of it and understanding like, I'm new to this. Like, I haven't run an organization before.
Yeah.
Right. And, it's very rare that you have, like, I'm a designer at heart. Like, I'm a creative at heart. Do you know what I mean? So, like, running a business is a different skill set than creating products for a business, right? Leading people is a different skill set than both of those things. Yeah. Right. So, but like, you just learn as you go, like,
say both.
And then just being comfortable with like making mistakes and also like, learning from those mistakes very quickly. And for me, it's always about like, as long as you treat people with respect, your heart's in the right place, and you sort of learn quickly from your mistakes, I think it'll be fun.
Yeah. So have you ever did you ever have a moment like, wow, like this not working out?
Yeah, plenty of times.
Yeah.
Plenty of times. When I started the brand, I was in college, and I remember like I'd had the idea for LBF for like, I'd say probably like a year or so before I actually did anything with it. Like literally, it was in my sketchbook, and I'd already drew I drew a bunch of soccer players. I had like shirts saying "Live Breathe Futbol," but I never did anything with it. And I remember like I was walking. So I said earlier, I went to Temple, and my best friend Keith and I were walking. Like I think we were like walking from like the tech center or something like that. And I just kept talking about it. He's like, bro, like, he's like, bro, you're either gonna keep talking about it or you're gonna shut up. Like, and I was like, all right, bet.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like what inspired me to do it. So yeah, man, it's just been like trying to like do that and just keep going.
Mistakes. I mean, I'm sure you made a bunch of mistakes. Also, like,
Yeah. Okay. So I remember now where I was going with that story. So my whole thing, I told myself that I was like, I'm gonna keep going with this as long as like I'm having fun with it. Like that was like the only caveat I gave myself. Like I wouldn't quit if it got too hard, because effectively every challenge you face in business, right? Not every challenge, but most of them, you can get past, right? They're just obstacles, right? Like either, and the thing is, there's very few challenges you face that like someone else hasn't faced before.
Yeah.
So effectively, like your problems are either a time gap, a knowledge gap, or like a resource gap. So that's money, like money or people, right? You can solve all those three problems. All just depends on like if you have the appetite for that, but also like if you just kind of like know how to, right? I've been lucky to have like good mentors and stuff that like I can go to who've been where I've been at and be like, okay, this is what you do X, Y, and Z. But for me, like I came with all these problems like so difficult. But I have had times where I'm just like, I don't know how I'm going to make it past this moment.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, like going to brand because I was talking to some kids yesterday, and they asked me like, well, what's the biggest challenges that you face every day as an entrepreneur? And I immediately just said it's like just being motivated to do the same thing every day. It's like literally just being motivated to do the same thing every day, because that's what like entrepreneurship is. You gotta be able to have that. You have to be able to follow a system and just follow that system every day until it works out, until it works out for you, and adjust as you go. But as long as you have that system, like, that's why I'll probably say honestly it's a challenge.
Being motivated is, I don't have that issue. Like I think I'm a naturally driven person. There's days I'm not motivated, but I'll still do it. You know what I mean? Like I think that's part of that comes with being an athlete, right? Like I've played on teams my whole life. You understand that like sometimes things don't go your way, but you just never quit. Like that's the first thing for me. But also for me, like the biggest challenge that I have is not motivation, but it's just like how things are repetitive. Like I think I have ADHD. It's not diagnosed. So like I do something, I'm already over it. You know what I mean? But like in business, it's all about repeating the same things over and over and over and over and over again. So like it's effectively like my challenge, I would say, is like trying to sort of overcome my nature.
Repetitiveness of doing
you know what I mean? Like I don't have any issue with like being creative with the challenges that come with it. But it's just like, we gotta do this shit again, bro. Like that's the part.
Well, it's like that 1%. Like you know how people always say it's like that 1% better every day, right?
That's it. But and I think once you kind of like absorb that mindset of like, okay, I'm not trying to go from like 0 to 100. It's like, okay, today I might just get an extra +1, +1. Like, and it's sort of compounded.
Adds up.
So that's what I would say. Yeah.
How do you think most people can be successful when trying to grow a brand now in 2025?
Like a clothing brand?
Yeah, clothing brand. Yeah.
You need to stand out.
Yeah.
And the one thing I've learned is like, you're not going to stand out by your product necessarily. What I mean by that is like, everyone's using the same factories. Everyone's using the same cotton. Like, it's not like we Nike where we're like innovating new fabrics or new technology, whatever the case is, right? Like you're effectively using the same materials, the same factories. So more or less like the actual products are the same.
Okay.
So with that said, I think where your brand is then is the story you tell people and the story that people believe. Because why would I buy your 6 ounces of cotton versus why would you buy this brand 6 ounces of cotton? It's a story. It's like that you tell yourself, right? So I think to stand out, you have to have a story that people can believe in and want to believe in and want to be a part of and want to be supportive. Like for us, like I think one of the things that has helped the brand so much is just my brand story as like an entrepreneur. Like people want like that underdog story. They want to, oh man, you started this in college. Like I want to support that. You know what I mean? Like they want to support someone who's like doing something, and you kind of have to lean into that. So I would say to people who want to grow a brand in 2025 is like find your edge. I always call it the edge. Like what's the one thing that makes you
Your story.
Yeah, and it could be it could be different things, right? But I think storytelling is like a big way to communicate that to people.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like
that's one thing that, like, honestly, in the last year, that's something I've kind of like leaned into more. I was actually talking to somebody about this because I had a conversation with another local entrepreneur in Philly, and he was just talking to me about like personal branding and like this, that. And since that conversation, he was telling me like, yo, like you have a story, like. People want to hear your story, like, it's an interesting story, and I'm like, but as your person, you just say that it's like,
it's
like interesting. What's interesting about this? Like, go to work, like, yeah,
because it's your life, right? Like, you do every day. It's so for me, that's been like one of the biggest mental shifts lately. Because for me, I'm like, yo, our shit is fire. Like, just buy this stuff. You know what I mean? And I realized that, like, well, that's partially why people are buying it. It's more so about like the story. Like, if I post a video of me in it talking about the brand, it connects so much better than just us posting the product. The brand page. It's quite interesting, like the psychology of that. Like, there's a lot of brands that I follow, like, I always look at this, like, if I find a new brand that I like, I find the founder, and 9 times out of 10, the founder has more followers and better engagement than the brand page, because people want to get behind the person.
Yeah, I mean, I see that also, obviously, with me trying to grow Minuteman and my personal brand as well. It's like, I don't think my business page would be as successful as it is if it wasn't like an actual face behind it.
100%.
Because I see a lot of printing businesses where they just like, they post, they post their business cards, they do all of that, but there's not really like
that's not engagement.
Anybody behind it. And then of course, and then on top of that, there's not really anybody that kind of looks like me in the space as well. So it's like a little bit easier to kind of like navigate that situation. So but like I think that's honestly that's one way. Obviously, it's like a storytelling. Like you always have to have that story to tell, or just like have like you said, something behind that brand as to why should somebody buy from you, other than like, oh, like, it's a nice t-shirt.
Yeah, because the reality is like everything nowadays has become commodified, right? So like, I remember when I first started LBF, it was like, there were like a few other soccer brands at the time, right? And everyone was making t-shirts. And everyone was just doing like blank t-shirts, like, Gildan, Next Level, whatever the case may be. And then I remember we dropped our first collection of a track jacket, and we did a scarf and a beanie. People were like, oh shit, right? Because like no one else was doing that, right? But like now, everyone's doing everything. You know what I mean? So like you got to find the edge. It's like, with me playing soccer, for example, right? I remember there's been a lot of games where, like, for me, for the longest time, like, I'm faster than most people on the pitch, right? So that's just like my edge. Like, that's just what would get me past the defender. And then you face a defender that's like just as fast as you, or fast. Like, what do you do in that? Like, how do you then
adapt?
Okay, well, maybe I need to think a little faster than him, or drop deeper, change my position, whatever the case may be. But you always have to find that thing that is yours. Like, it's only you. And I think in this day and age of building a brand, who you are and your story and your experiences, you're the only person that's going to have that. Like, we're both from Nigeria, but guess what? We're not from the same place. We're not in the same business. You know what I mean? Like, I've had so many different experiences that you probably haven't had, and vice versa. So like, if we were trying to build a clothing brand, like, and we're using the same factory, the same t-shirts, like, that's not really the thing. It's just going to be like, yo, it comes down to like, who do people like connect with you more at the end of the day? You know what I mean? So
no, that definitely makes sense. It's also the fact is like that niche also is like, I feel like a lot of people just like start a clothing brand and just start throwing things against the wall and just hope that something sticks. But it's like they're not really thinking about like who they're really trying to like talk to, and who they're really trying to like attract to the brand as well.
100%. Like, it's like with me, like, I call it the brand Live Breathe Futbol, because that's just what I do. Right. So if you're like, oh, Live Breathe Futbol, and then you see the founder, oh, he still plays soccer. It's like, okay, well, duh, like, he's about it for me. It's not just like, oh, soccer is a growing sport in America. Let's do the focus groups, whatever. It's like, well, no one, how? Like, but people know, oh, this guy, look, he's actually living what he says. Like, I'm not just trying to sell you product to make money. I'm like, I wear all the stuff that like I make to play soccer.
I'm not wearing somebody else's brand.
So like, when people see that, they go, oh, okay, cool. Like, I can get behind this.
Like, he's not just wearing, like, he's not trying to sell something and then wear somebody else's.
Because people can see through that.
I know we touched on this a little bit, and it was the suppliers, suppliers for, manufacturing clothing and things like that. And I know that's one of the biggest things that's, in your industry, right?
Yeah.
So how was that when you first started? Like, were you working with local suppliers? When did you feel the need, like, oh wow, I might need to elevate to start going overseas or working with a larger manufacturer, something like that?
Yeah, it's a good question. When I first started, like I said, the very first batch of t-shirts was made locally in Camden, and then after that, I was playing soccer, and like one of my teammates at the time, Chris Majette, he like made our jerseys. I was like, oh, you have a small screen printing shop. Did not print company, probably one of the biggest ones in Philly or in the Philly area now.
Yeah.
And like he was my teammate. I was like, yo, can you make some shirts for us, whatever the case was? And like I've seen their business even grow bigger. But then, I was like, okay, well, I want to do like pants. I wanted to make like a soccer pant that like I had in my mind. And like that had to be cut. So I had to find a manufacturer overseas that could do that. And so, I was doing a lot of research, whatever it was. And then eventually, Dave and I, so Dave's our lead designer, we just went to China. And like, you know what I mean? We just went to China. I think we saw like 8 factories over the space of like 2 weeks. And just I was okay, here's what's possible, whatever. There's also trade shows that we go to in New York. What's it called? It's at the Javits Center. I forget what it's called. It's called Tex World. So there's a bunch of suppliers from all over the world. So like, if you want to do denim, if you want to do athleisure, if you want to do like knits, wovens, whatever you want to do, like they're there. So you can just kind of go and network and
How often do they come?
That's once a year. So it's usually around the end of January.
Okay. So it happened already.
It already happened this year.
Okay.
But yeah, like, we'll go, like, we already have like a good base of suppliers.
Okay.
We'll just usually go just to like meet up with them in person, have dinner, talk about a plan for the year.
So you would go to China?
Yeah, we've been to China before.
Or they come here to meet y'all? Like,
oh,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, the time we went to China was because we had a project with the Portland Thorns that we had to get manufactured within a certain time window, and the only way to do that was actually just go to China, have them make the samples, we approve it right then and there, and then we go to bulk production.
Okay.
The whole back and forth shipping thing would just not work.
Yeah. So how many shirts or jackets or pieces do you typically tend to print out every time you do a drop?
It all varies. If we're doing like our stuff, we'll do like 100 to 200, and sometimes more. Actually, you can always reorder, because obviously in this business, in the apparel business, you want to limit your inventory risk.
Yeah.
But then if we're doing stuff that's going to be in Dick's Sporting Goods or whatever, we get POs and to whatever quantity they order, and then plus like whatever we might want to sell on our website. So it's usually like anywhere between like that 100 to like 500-600 range.
Okay. If you had to start over, what would you do? You had to start all over again. What would you do differently?
What would I do differently? This is a really good question. I think I would just focus on building a community first as a priority. When I did it, so when I started LBF, I already had a Twitter account that would just talk about soccer.
Yeah.
So it was like 100 people. So like, I guess that's in that sense I built community. But like I would just do it like aggressively. I would just like start building a community first.
Yeah.
That trusts you, and then I would sort of bring the product into it.
Yeah.
Because for me, like I'm a product person first.
Yeah.
I think about
get
the
it
product
out
first,
Get
right?
it out.
Versus like marketing is really the game right now. Like social media, videos, content, all that is just effectively marketing.
Yeah.
Right? Which is what goes back to our earlier conversation about like, how do you stand out? It's like the marketing really.
Okay.
So I'll definitely like focus on marketing. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. That was actually going on to the next question. It's asked like, it's like, what's the most effective way that you've been able to grow BF actually?
I mean, yeah, it's all been through social media. A lot of word of mouth. Like people love our stuff and they refer other people to it. But I mean, I think social media now, because how else can you get 100,000 people, 1 million people to see your product? Obviously, you can do paid ads, organic, whatever the case is. Like I would say that's probably the most effective way.
What was one of the biggest like marketing moves that you made that was like, this put me on the map? Like this, you got picked up by like, like, how did you get ML? Did we talk about that? How you got the MLS contract?
No, we didn't talk about that. What was one of the biggest marketing moves? I think for us, we've never really had like. Okay, so this is one I can think of right now. So back in 2020, pandemic hits, whatever the case was. I didn't know what was going to happen, so I was like, okay, let's just like, we didn't close up shop, but just like, yo, let's like just bare minimum scale back whatever it was. And we just dropped our shorts, like our turbo shorts, which is basically like a shorts of our pants, the Maestro pant that had done really, really well for us. And it was like a clean pair of black shorts.
I was trying to cop some.
We redesigned it for this year.
Okay.
And I remember like, so, you know, just like I said, during COVID, so I was just like, I'll just come to the office so I can get out the house, you know what I mean? And it'll just be me in the office, and I'll just be like, yo, I'm bored, I need to be creative or whatever. I'm like, well, I can't really create much because if I create something, I can't really sell it because like supply chain, factories are closed that whole time. So I remember just like firing up our heat press, and I had these like transfers that we had done for like another project. They just said Breathe Futbol, and I just like start putting them on shorts, and it looked fire. I remember just posting a picture on our IG, and people were like, yo, those are tough. Like, are you so? I just literally just made one pair for myself to post on Instagram, and then I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'll just make another product on the website with the letters on them, and then so the regular shorts I think like $50 or whatever it was, and then this one I was like, well, if I'm spending my time heat pressing each one, jack up to $64. Well, everyone stopped buying the regular shorts for $50 and just kept buying the turbo shorts. I was like, oh shit, wait a second.
Yeah.
And like literally I was printing like 50 a day.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, whoa, this is crazy. Yo, I called our friend, I was like, listen, I know you'll probably know. I was like, I need like 500 shorts, whatever. Then we did different colors. Those came out, and then like Dwayne Wade's stylist bought some, and he posted himself wearing them, and then we saw like another, like, it was just like, that was like one of the biggest.
Okay. And that's organic. That wasn't even
right. It wasn't even like, yo, we spent a bunch of money on ads.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like a natural
thing. And that's I feel like that's how a lot of that's how marketing is going nowadays. It's just like more of like that personal, organic feel. Like I feel like a lot of brands are trying to switch their marketing towards that, where it's just that authentic feel on their Instagram page.
Yeah, because people want to connect with people, right? And it's like, if you're being sold to, if you're going to see ads, like, you're like, okay, well, like, now it's based on, do I want to buy this product right now?
Yeah.
Which is very easy to just like scroll past, right?
Yeah.
But if you like see something that like genuinely that connects with you, you're going to want to be like an advocate and an ambassador for a brand like that. So like, I think that's why a lot of brands are doing it, because like, it's so effective, because it cuts through all the bullshit, right? Like, I think a lot of advertising and marketing is like, you know, like when people are trying to sell you on something, you know it, and it doesn't feel as good as like if you make that decision for yourself. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like when you talk to salespeople, they'll tell you about that. It's like you want the prospect to kind of sell themselves on what they're. So like you're not,
you need it.
Right? Like exactly. Like not. So they basically ask you a bunch of questions that eventually, before you know, you're saying yes, and you've now bought this thing that you never even thought you needed, because like you've realized, oh shit, this actually would make my life
easier,
better in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. What's next for LBF? Like, what do y'all have in the pipeline? Like, what are you working on?
I mean, the big thing is like the World Cup is next year.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Which is, you know, last time the World Cup was in America was 1994, was 30-something years ago. So, yeah, I'll just say it's just that, like, building a brand towards that, taking advantage of that. You know, obviously we have an MLS license right now, so licensing is an interesting new component of our business. Where, you know, we work officially with like soccer clubs or whatever the case may be. So it's just like building that. But I'll say the major thing is get an operation to meet the demand and opportunity that's in front of us.
You ever think that you ever bring like more production in house?
We talk about doing some like having like a sampling room. Because for me, one of the things I don't like about apparel is like, it's very slow.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, you got to work on like fall winter 27 now.
Yeah.
Because of like the sampling, the development, and all of that. So it would be nice to just have like something in house. I'm like, yo, let's sample this jacket, let's sample this hat, whatever the case is, real quick. See it in real time, see if we like it.
Yeah.
If we want to go further in that direction or another direction. But as far as like full scale production, no, because I'm not in the production business. I'm like build a brand.
Yeah, it's true. Like that would cut in too much time into.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing I would say to people is figure out what your business is. Like, if you're trying to build a brand. Like, you're not a factory.
Yeah.
You know,
Then you have the people that's trying to press the shirt.
Yeah, like
buy the whole printer and everything like that.
When products land here, they're ready to go out to the customer.
Yeah.
I'm not adding nothing. I'm not printing nothing, because that's a completely different business.
Yeah, it's a lot different. That's what it is. My business. It's a lot. Yeah, but it's a lot just trying to deal with trying to source. Like I'm dealing with that right now, where somebody's trying to help me start. I'm trying to help somebody start a brand, and I need to help them source like boxy T-shirts and like. So I'm talking different suppliers from you know. So it's difficult.
Yeah, I mean, there's sort of things that are part of our business that I don't enjoy. Like sourcing is one of those things. things, but like it's part of our business to make the products that we want to make. But like I'm not gonna be like, oh fuck it, I'm just gonna start making my own boxes here. This is not the business that I'm in. Now, at some point, it might make sense to do that down the line. We've already like perfected what we're doing now, but we're trying to make like the fresher soccer shirt.
Yeah. You're working with the MLS already, but so I would think that's an ideal partner for you.
Yeah.
Do you have anybody else that you would want to like partner with? Like who would be like, oh wow, like I want LBF to partner with this person or organization?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like I want every soccer club in the world to be a customer of LBF, right? MLS is great because they're local. It's the top league in our country. There's 30 clubs. That's a good foundation for our licensing business. But I'm like, I want Real Madrid, Arsenal, Dortmund. I want every club
overseas,
everything.
With overseas,
not just Europe, Africa, and Asia, everything. Because I think effectively what we do can resonate with every single club. It's not a regional thing. So that's the first thing. As far as players, just people I grew up idolizing. You know what I mean? Like, I'd love to do a collection with like Roberto Baggio and those guys. And just like, because I think now people are more kind of open to things like that.
Yeah, because they're about to get a collab,
I think collaboration is big. Exactly. So that, but also like legacy brands like I love Porsche. I was like, what would a Porsche LBF collab look like? What would like an Aston Martin LBF collab look like? What would like a World Cup is next year. What would like a hospitality partner look like for LBF? Where like you sort of reimagine the brand in a new way that's not just apparel. So,
do you think you ever branch out of football? Do you think you'd be like LBF running and LBF baseball?
No, there's enough soccer fans and players in the world where we don't need to do that.
Yeah.
If that was the case, I'd just start another brand. You wouldn't be like LiveBreathe Futbol for like, LiveBreathe Futbol running. It's like now you're diluting your core customer. Like if we're like a very niche sport that's a lot smaller, it might make sense because obviously you might get market saturation and then you want to like branch out. But
because I feel like I think about like like the Nikes of the world where they all try to like branch out to the different sports. After a while of running the company.
Sure. But I think Nike is different because obviously Nike
activewear
was a running company, right? When they started, obviously, like they got so big, you started, going to basketball with Jordan and all that sort of thing. I think it makes sense for them. But we're LiveBreathe Futbol. It's like, like that's just what we do. Like now, that doesn't mean we wouldn't like do ghost production, let's say, for like other sports.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think sort of the operations of making apparel is the same whether you're making a running jacket or a soccer jacket.
Yeah.
But as far as like putting our logo and our brand on that, 100% football.
I mean, we touched on this a little bit, but next 5 to 10 years, where do you see LBF?
Yeah, I want us to be the biggest soccer brand in the world. Like when you think of
that's
it.
You know what
I mean? Like, when you think of like brands like North Face, which like outdoor and hiking, and like Patagonia, like there's certain brands you associate with certain sports and certain activities. Like I want LBF to be the first and only thing you think when you think of soccer.
Yeah.
You don't think of Nike when you think of soccer. You think of soccer, you're not thinking of Nike. Well, yeah, some things, but Adidas, some things. You're like, not. LBF is 100% football.
How can people support LBF and anything else you want to add?
Yeah, so LiveBreatheFutbol.com. That's football FUTBOL.com. Instagram at LBFutbol. My Instagram is at Mr. LBF. Yeah, man, that's.
I never read it like that.
Most people don't read it like that.
I've never read it.
There was things like just one word. Yeah.
I just thought it was
Yeah. Well, because LiveBreathe Futbol as an Instagram handle is long as hell. So I was like, let's show them a little bit.
I never read it as Mr. LBF. That's funny.
What did you read?
I just kind of just read it MR. I just never just thought of like I was like, this has something that means the MR. Like
no, it's Mr. LBF. That's all it is. That's my Instagram. What else? You can find us at Dick's Sporting Goods. We're in over 96 Dick's Sporting Goods locations. Mostly East Coast, South, and West Coast. MLS.com, MLSstore.com. We're in 10 MLS stadiums: San Diego, Atlanta, Columbus, Miami, a bunch of them. So, we'll be around.
Yeah. Bigger and better too for the next 10 years, 15, 20 years.
Like I said, our mission, our slogan is LBF is forever.
Yeah.
So that's what we do.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you, man. This was great.
Yes, for sure. This is